Hey Jackie, what if I told you that learning Chinese would change your life forever?
What do you mean?
I mean, you don't know now, but learning Chinese will take you to places you would have never imagined. You're gonna fly across the world to Taiwan, where you'll experience some of the happiest and also loneliest moments of your life. It's gonna help you to deepen your relationships with your family, and I know you're not thinking about it now, but someday it might also help you to become an actor.
When I say that learning Chinese has completely changed my life, I really mean that. When I took my first Mandarin class in college 8 years ago, I never thought it'd take me to where I am now. So in today's video, I wanted to give a really personal and really honest reflection about some of those experiences that I've had from learning Chinese. This is something that is not scripted at all. I just have a couple of notes. And in that way, it's more of a recollection from a journal or a diary, and some of the ways that just changed my life forever. The first is that it got me to start a YouTube channel. So if you look back at the first few videos that I have on this channel from 3 years ago, it started off with me documenting my life in Taiwan because one, it was something that seemed fun. I had always wanted to start a YouTube channel and it gave me the motivation to do so. And the second was because it felt like there was actual value that people were getting from the videos. I remember when I was looking into Taiwan to study abroad, there just weren't a lot of people talking about it. I would look through YouTube, I would look through Google, I would look through those random language exchange forums, and I just didn't see a whole lot of people talking about what it took to actually go to a college in Taiwan and start studying Mandarin. And so I thought, why not be that person? So that other people who are studying Chinese can have easier access to that information so that they can know how much it costs to go to a certain university and what going to those courses actually looks like. And that's how I got started with YouTube. I'm no longer in Taiwan and I'm no longer making videos about that. I'm here in New York doing something completely different, but it helped me to unlock and see YouTube as a creative outlet and something that I could do. Even though I'm no longer in Taiwan and making videos about life in Taiwan, it's still something that I'm deeply connected to. And even now I get questions from people about what it was like to live in Taiwan, how they too can study abroad in Taiwan, and what those experiences like for me. So if you have questions about what it was like to study abroad in Taiwan or what it was like to study abroad learning Mandarin, I definitely welcome you to either reach out to me or leave comments, because I know that it's not easy. It's something that can be very overwhelming just trying to find answers. If I can help out in some way, I'd definitely help too. The second, while we're talking about my experience in Taiwan, is that it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. Saying that almost feels kind of an understatement, because when I look at my life, there are two periods. There's before Taiwan and there's after Taiwan. I feel like the person that I was going in was not the same person that I was going out. Part of that is just having the time for self-discovery and being by myself for such a long period of time. I lived abroad in Taiwan for 9 months in a studio by myself. And when I got there, I didn't know a single person. And it was a completely foreign environment where I knew the language, but I didn't know it fluently. And so every day I felt stupid. Every day I felt overwhelmed. And nearly every day, along with the feeling of excitement and exploration, was a feeling of being an imposter, of being someone who didn't quite fit in. And from those experiences, I learned something about how to deal with loneliness and how to deal with being by myself. Because when you're by yourself and you're dealing with all those things, there's really nothing else to do except to sit with those emotions. There's nothing I could do to run away from them. And so that's what I did. Now that I'm working full time and having an adult life, I realize how much of a luxury that is to be able to spend that much time with yourself. Learning Chinese also allowed me to have a better relationship with my parents because I could communicate with them better. And at first glance, that might be something that's a little confusing because I grew up speaking Cantonese with my parents. But I think for a lot of first generation immigrants and for a lot of ABCs, American-born Chinese people like me, it makes a lot of sense. My story is I grew up in a Cantonese speaking environment, but I grew up in a predominantly Mexican community. So growing up, I didn't really want to be Chinese. I wanted to be Mexican. I wanted to fit in with everybody else. I didn't want to get teased. I just wanted to belong. And so when I was younger, and there's a part of me that feels ashamed, but part of growth, I suppose, that when I was younger, I really rejected that part of my culture. Because I didn't want to be Chinese, I didn't really engage with the culture in any way. As an example of that, when my parents would be in the living room after we eat dinner watching a Chinese show, I'd just run back to my room, I'd watch Family Guy, I'd watch Simpsons, so that I could have something to talk about with my friends at lunch the next day. It wasn't until I was much older, probably senior year of high school, early college, when I really started to embrace being Chinese, being Asian, and seeing that as a fundamental part of my identity rather than something that I wanted to run away from. You could say that was part of the reason that I wanted to start studying Mandarin. It definitely was an invitation to lean into and look more into that part of my identity. I've now studied Mandarin for 8 years now, and it's given me an entirely new language to communicate with my parents. When I think about Cantonese, it is the language of my childhood. It is something that I closely associate with family and all the things that come with it. It's a huge mixed bag of things that I'm extremely grateful for, and things that I probably can't even unpack right now. Cantonese is always going to be my first language, and it's always going to be a language that in some ways makes me feel like a kid. Mandarin, on the other hand, is a language that I learned as an adult. It's a language that I've learned with the goal of learning how to communicate. It's something that has been extremely structured because of how I've learned in class. And it's been something that I feel very comfortable with because of my time in Taiwan, where I had to speak it every single day for 9 months. Because of that, now when I communicate with my parents, I still use Cantonese, but if there are ideas or concepts that I don't know how to express, rather than feeling trapped in my elementary school kind of childhood level version of Cantonese, I can switch to Mandarin and be able to continue that conversation that previously I either would have just skipped or would have fumbled around looking for the right words for. And that's something that I'm always going to be grateful for. One of the last things that comes up for me when I think about how learning Chinese has changed my life is that it helped me get my first 2 roles as an actor. So I started studying acting about 6 months ago when I moved to New York, something that I've always been interested in, did in high school, but never really pursued. Asian background being a part of that as well. But now that I find myself in New York, I thought there was no better opportunity to start pursuing acting. The issue is, much like finding a job, people don't really want to hire you if you have no experience. It's kind of a catch-22 in the beginning where you can only get a job if you already had a job. So then how do you get the first one? Very similar to acting, where even though I'm taking classes, I don't have any experience. There's no internship or credits that I could list elsewhere. So when I was looking for my first role, it was really difficult. What helped was having a skill like Mandarin. So for the first 2 roles that I got, the first one was a Cantonese speaking role. They needed a young Chinese actor, me, who could speak Cantonese. Because it was a student film, there really wasn't any budget. That was perfect for me. I just wanted the opportunity to be on screen, to be around other creatives, and that has led to numerous other opportunities. But I don't think it would have been possible if I didn't know Cantonese. The second thing, because that's kind of a cop-out, I knew Cantonese from growing up. That wasn't something that I learned. The natural Mandarin speaking role, where I played a secret government agent try to chase someone down for money. And that was a role that required Mandarin speaking abilities. There are no actual speaking lines in the role that use Mandarin, but having Mandarin was really useful because most of the people on set were Chinese people. I say that learning Chinese changed my life as an actor because I think sometimes it's really hard just to get your foot in the door. And whatever advantages, skills, resources that you have and can use is really helpful. For me, that was knowing how to speak Chinese. That helped me to get my feet wet and get some experiences that now I can point to. I can't say I know where the acting journey will take me, but I'm always going to be grateful that Chinese and knowing Chinese was how I got my start. I don't know if this was helpful for you. This was kind of just me rambling about my personal reflections about how learning Chinese has changed my life. It probably will continue to in ways that I can't imagine now, and in ways that really I never thought would have happened before. And that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you do things and you never know where they'll take you. That's where I'm at with acting right now, where I'm just starting out. Maybe in a couple of months or a couple of years, I'll make a video about how acting changed my life. In some ways, even though it's just been 6 months, it already has. It's changed the way that I view the world. It's changed my relationship to myself, and it's allowed me to do something that I never thought I could. If you're interested in what that looks like, I've started making videos about what life as an actor in New York is like. It's something that I never really thought about when I was younger. I always thought you had to do the starving artist thing, or you had to do the financially prestigious thing that your parents wanted you to do. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an engineer. I'm a business person, which I guess is in some ways what my parents wanted. But there's this other part of me that's always wanted to be an artist. And I'm starting to figure out what that means and what that looks like. And sometimes it's not pretty. There's a lot of figuring stuff out in these videos. I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm really just trying to show what that honest journey looks like. Hopefully someday, when I look back at this in a couple of years, it all works out. But until then, I have no idea. And much like when I first started learning Chinese, I have no idea where this road will take me. And I can't wait for what that looks like.